All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. Thanks for making it out to this week's community call. So we'll try to keep this community call within the hour limit this time. I think last couple of calls have been going a bit longer, but I do know some folks have to jump off by 5, so we'll try to wrap up around that time, and so we can all begin our weekends. So first off, here's the planned topics for today's call. But before I launch into them, just want to give a couple of updates. First off, a couple of shout outs actually. So that reminds me. First off, Adina and Naga, congrats this week. Both you guys picked up your first crypto. So I think both of you bought some ETH and some Bitcoin. And if I'm not wrong, I think you're probably still in the green at this time. That means price is trading above where you bought it, which is so unusual. Usually when you buy crypto the first time, it tends to go against you right away. So that's just the nature of trading. But congrats to you, to both of you for making the leap and figuring it out, because that's that first transaction is always the most kind of nerve-wracking. A little bit of white knuckling going on as you deposit money and move money around. So congrats on that step. So yes, and also shout out to Adida. She's also been putting some of her comments into Notion about that process and some of the idea, or some of the things that you kind of bumped into, right? Some things that were that you thought would be interesting to share. So thanks for putting that into the Notion site. And what I'm doing with that now is we're going to put together a onboarding guide. So I was talking to here we go. I was talking to Adam earlier this week, and we were just kind of brainstorming of ways that we can more easily onboard people, especially when they first join the community. So I'll talk about that in a few moments here, but what that onboarding guide is going to look like, and I've kind of started to flesh it out already. But ultimately, we're going to take some of the comments that that Adina shared. Maybe Naga, you can put any comments you want, and anyone who has questions that they generally have, we can drop into like an FAQ document, right? Just compile that document, and we can have just a running list of questions that we can either answer or just point to resources or links to answer those questions, so they would be valuable to the overall community. So before I get into the actual, let's kick into things. So here's the agenda. So what I want to first do is just to go over a couple of ideas that I got out of this article that I shared in the Discord room. So I'm calling it DAO Food for Thought, but the article had a couple of really good ideas, especially around what it means to actually participate in a DAO. So that even when I've been thinking about DAOs a lot, but when I read this article, it just kind of clarified a few things. I had a few light bulbs go off. That had that kind of classic light bulb moment, and I thought maybe I'd share that. And then we'll talk about the rest of the stuff. So before I get into things, it was last night. I'm a little bit tired today. I don't think you can hear it in my voice, but I was doing a bit of yelling. And last night, as we went to the Web3, or I was at the Web3, and I think Naga was there too, and a bunch of folks were at this Web3 Montreal event. Really fun event last night. Good to see a lot of people back in person again, IRL, and really well done events. They had the Web3 Montreal team consists of a number of DeFi, I guess Web3 companies. So they had 3 sponsors that sponsored the event. So they had DeFi Safety as a sponsor, and these are all companies that are based here in Montreal. So DeFi Safety, Airfoil, and what was another one? Zapper was the other one. Naga, am I missing any? DeFi Safety, Airfoil. There's some streaming company that was there. I can't remember what the name of it was. That Airfoil? I don't remember anymore. By the time they started talking, I was already a few beers into it, so I don't remember what they said too much. And then lastly, we had Zapper, and Zapper is actually a really cool company. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but Google Zapper, and Zapper is a tool you can use to track your wallet, or funny enough, because the wallets everyone's wallet is visible in Ethereum. You can track anyone's wallet. So go to Zapper. I think it's zapper.fi. Yeah. And you can punch in your wallet address, and it tracks all your assets, any kind of farms that you're using. So if you're farming or yielding, or doing this pooling or staking, it shows all your assets there, as well as any loans that you may have out. So yeah, really good tool. And again, like I said,
there was Streaming Fast.
Streaming Fast, yeah, thank you. That was the other one, Streaming Fast. That was the streaming company. And so, yeah, a real bunch of, really fun event, a lot of food, a lot of drinks, good people, and met a lot of like-minded individuals. So hopefully we're going to get a chance to pull both of our communities closer together. They run all their stuff through Telegram right now. That's where that group is on Telegram. But I think there's going to be ways for us to collaborate and partner up with those guys, as I think that group there is really intent on running social events. Like if that was my take on that group is they're in it for the social, and that's great. And I think we can find ways to to mutually assist each other, because I think maybe our DAO will maybe focus on I think we'll do social events too, but I think there's ways for us to differentiate ourselves from what they're doing, because they're kind of more focused on social events and running these big kind of like parties and networking events, which are fun. But I think there's other things that we can also contribute to the overall Montreal Web3 DAO, Web3 crypto community, based on what we're doing here in Montreal DAO. Okay, so that's the update there. They're probably gonna have another event in the next, maybe the next few months, and hopefully we'll see more of you guys out to the next event when there's more of a lead time. Because this one sold out fast. This one, they had 80 spots on their list, and then it sold out within like a couple hours. They opened up another spot that opened up another 20 spots, and that sold out too. But in the end, not as many people showed up. So I think there's you may have seen my text in the Discord chat, and I said, hey, the spots have opened up, and so it wasn't the full 80 people. I don't know, Naga. Did you get a feeling for how many people were at that event?
I think the registration was 80.
Yeah.
But I don't think 80 people came. Maybe there were like 60, 50, 60.
Yeah, exactly. Still 50, 60, which is pretty good. Yeah. But again, just basically a social networking event. So just people, getting together and just chatting. But again, just great to have people, great to see people in real life again. And of course, everyone in that community there, we're just talking about DeFi and, degen stuff and crypto stuff all night. So it was fun that way. All right. So that being said, that's kind of the update around the social event. But let's get into the actual agenda now. And again, I encourage folks, if you have any agenda items that you definitely want to talk about, I encourage you to drop it into Notion. So I think at some point we'll have to discuss, like, as a group, like where do you want to capture some of these ideas? And like, for instance, like I think in my mind already, I'm trying to figure out, well, what's the best platform, right? Do we, and which one do we use for our different types of communication? So for instance, obviously it's very easy to go into Discord and drop ideas in there, but we also have gm.xyz, right? And so there, you can post things too. So maybe we can, have a discussion maybe later on, or we'll have to figure out. Okay, thanks, Jocelyn. Yeah. So, when do we use each platform, right? So that we're not simply reproducing content across both, because it just becomes duplicated. And maybe that's not the the most efficient way of doing things. So maybe I will have to figure it out. Like I'm just trying to figure how do we leverage GM.xyz and how do we leverage Discord to its best capabilities. Okay, so let's get into things now. And again, here's what I have for the agenda. Is there anything else that people want to add to the list of things to talk about today? Because I can, if it's something urgent, we can bump it up in the agenda to make sure we have time to cover it. Otherwise, this is what I have for today's call. Nope, no other topics to add. We're good. All right, so let's talk about the DAO Food for Thought article, because I think it's a good one. So I did post the link in the Discord. So if you are in there, drop into the DAO chat channel. I dropped it in there. There's a couple of screenshots that I put in here. A couple of tweets that I thought were really that really resonated with me. The first one is this one here. If you know Trake from on Twitter, he runs he has he's kind of a thought leader around DAOs. So you'll see a lot of his, a lot of people quote his stuff, but I think it was quite useful to think of it this way, right? So here, there's no such thing as a CEO of a DAO, right? So there's no one who runs there is no, at least there shouldn't be a single person that it could say is the leader of the DAO, right? That's really the point of DAOs, is that we kind of break down the classic top-down leadership, right? That we know in the corporate world. So how do you lead when no one is in charge? Well, the leader is the one who knows what to do next. So that means anyone can step up, and the person if you have a good idea, that person can carry the ball and push things forward. right? So this is what I'm thinking about for the Montreal DAO is if folks have ideas, then, then you're the leader. Like, you can step up and propose it, and propose the that topic or that project or this idea, whatever it may be, to the overall, to the DAO, and the DAO, is there to support you. So think of DAOs as leaderful organizations where everyone is a leader. So it's not like it's not top down anymore, where myself or Adam or Adina is going to tell each person what to do, because that's it's not the structure. The second one, and here's the follow-on, is most DAO decisions don't need consensus. So I think this is the idea of many DAOs, is that, hey, everything requires consensus, and that's not true. They need consent. All right, so we don't have to ask everyone if they like the idea. Instead, ask if they think the idea is too risky to try, or better yet, if the risk, as leaders, we're all leaders here in the DAO. There's things that you can do without asking for permission whatsoever. Right, this is the whole idea of being permissionless. So long as you're not misrepresenting the DAO or doing something that's against the mission and the values of the DAO, then yeah, certainly you can go off and act on behalf of the DAO without necessarily having to have full consensus. Right, so I think it's ultimately, I think the DAO moves faster, right? It's more organic, and people can just act out of what they believe is the best interest of the DAO without having to get approval first. So it's not the kind of thing where I got to ask my boss what to do next, or if it's okay to do this thing, right? Like that's the outdated way of working in the corporate world. Here, you push first. Especially if it's obviously if it's a little controversial, you think it's controversial, then certainly bubble it up to the DAO, to the other DAO members, to get consent. But we don't need consensus, right? We don't need to have 100% consensus, and not everything has to go to a vote every single time, right? So those are some pretty good ideas. The third thing here, so I think this is a natural progression as we start to work inside DAOs. So the progression is a lurker, contributor, to a leader. Right, so I think we've all been there, or some of you may be in this phase now, where you may be a lurker, right? And so I was talking to Naga yesterday, and he's like, I'm just more of a lurker right now. I'm like, that's perfectly cool, right? Because that's where we all begin. In fact, you kind of have to be a lurker in the beginning to kind of figure out how things work. You can't just jump in right away, right? So whatever phase you're at right now is perfectly cool. So that's just the general evolutions. We're going to go from lurker, ultimately contribute, and then as I said in the earlier on, then you all just naturally become leaders, because as you understand how the DAO works, its mission, its values, and so forth. Then yeah, you can just act on behalf of the DAO, and whoever again knows the next step, that's the leader at that point. So I guess a general open-ended question for everyone on this call and whoever's listening to this recording is, what do you want to do now on behalf of the Montreal DAO? And what can we do to support you, right? Like, you don't have to. So this is just a kind of an open community here, right? So I clearly have some things that I'm interested in pursuing. So for instance, right now, I'm the one who's kind of leading the charge around running events. I don't mind doing that. I have experience running those events, especially kind of virtual events, or like the ones that we've been doing in the past, around bringing in speakers or myself speaking and sharing ideas. So I don't mind running with that. But if you have, if anyone wants to help me with that, I'd love to get the assistance. But if that's not of interest to you, that's cool too. What do you want to pursue, and how can we support you, right? So I would love to see us have multiple work streams going on, right? So we have different folks focusing on different things, and this expands the reach of the DAO. Maybe some folks are again into I don't know, like NFTs, and they want to do a push into touching base with artists in Montreal. Maybe some folks want to see how we can collaborate with other DAOs or other folks in Montreal. Like how do we bring all these different ideas in and have other folks contributing in different ways to the DAO? We don't all have to work on the same things, right? Like not everyone has to work on, for instance, planning the next event, right? That's maybe a 1 or 2 person job. We don't need to all have our hands in there. But yeah, if we can get more cooks in the kitchen, focus on different parts of that, quote unquote, kind of dinner, so to speak, right? If we're trying to make a 10-course meal, then yeah, let's have a bunch of chefs in the kitchen, and folks working on different parts of that's cool, Jocelyn. Yeah, different parts of that big meal. So I'm going to take a little pause there now, and actually before I open it up, I'll share another part that I'm interested in. Obviously, with my background, I'm really interested in exploring how using the DAO or having the, having, well, I guess it's not used, but having a investment club or investment DAO under the Montreal DAO umbrella, right? So that is a part of like an investment club or investment DAO. That would be another work stream that I'd be interested in pursuing and exploring. And yeah, if you guys want to, whoever wants to volunteer, to do that, then certainly, yeah, so cool. Yeah, so raise your hand and take leadership on that topic or that work stream, because I kind of have my hands full already planning events. But again, I like that investment idea, investment club idea. So I'd be happy to help support or explore what to do around that kind of investment club idea. So I'll pause there, and I'd love to hear if you guys have thought about it at all, like what interests you, and then how can we support you guys for more pursuing that idea.
It's funny you mentioned that, Houston. The investment club idea. It's something that I've kind of been, fermenting in my head recently on that, around the investment club, around the club building investment strategies or, ideas and trying to figure out how that will work within, right? So that's what I'm kind of trying to work out.
Sorry, give me 1 second here. I'm having a bit of audio issues. I'm going to put on my headphones here. Can you hear me, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I can, yes.
Okay, now I hear you loud and clear. Perfect. All right. Sorry, my friend.
That's okay.
Your AirPods are cutting, so you don't want repeating.
No, I was just saying, like, I've been thinking about that idea of investment club, how, I'm trying to flesh out some ideas around that, maybe building investment strategies, investment ideas within the club, and how does that fit within a DAO structure, right? So right from the beginning, I was kind of like thinking that and trying to flesh out ideas on what that would look like.
Cool. Well, maybe it's something you and I can work together on. Let's make this a separate work stream, right?
Sure.
Whoever wants to join that work stream can join us. But at least you and I are going to be at least part of that work stream. So we'll put that in the Notion site, right? And put both our names to it. I have some ideas around around what's being done right now. Like what's the common practice now? Having investment clubs inside of DAOs. There's certain tools that people are using. But all kinds of stuff we could talk about there. Like obviously there's a certain point you have to have. You do have to consider tax structures and legal structures. So that's definitely a conversation that we can explore, because that's a kind of
absolutely
interesting rabbit hole there.
And we can, we're a DAO. We can actually run above the law and the tax system. Just kidding. We'll set up an office in Belize.
Yes, I like that idea. But and my vision would be that like the investment DAO doesn't draw on the Montreal DAO's money necessarily, right? It's kind of an offshoot of the Montreal DAO, and members of the Montreal DAO can choose to join it, right? Can choose to join that investment DAO, where we then pool our funds, right, and then co-invest in things or something to that effect. Ultimately, exactly. If it's there's a good track record, then we can as a DAO decide, okay, do you want to take some of the DAO's treasury and now put it into that investment DAO as well? Once there's proof of performance, right? So
absolutely, and I was thinking the exact same. Like I've had the chance to discuss with people who run a few endowment funds, right? And it started very similarly, but then became a typical hedge fund structure, right? So this is interesting how we could use a DAO structure in that sense.
Yeah. There's one interesting one called this idea of revenue as a service. So they're calling it RAS, RAAS, or farming as a service is another one. There's a few DAOs that are set up that kind of offer this service to other DAOs. because what we're seeing in space is that there's a lot of DAOs are forming, and they have a decent treasury. Unfortunately, a lot of these DAOs are not accustomed to managing the treasury. So, most DAOs have their tokens in the treasury as well as ETH, right? That's like the most common two assets that a DAO will hold, just because that's the native kind of, these are the native tokens of the ecosystem. So what happens if you go into a bear market and everything goes down 90%, right? And a lot of DAOs are just not used to managing their money, and that's what's happened, right? These folks are losing a lot of capital because they don't have the either the expertise, or they just don't have the infrastructure to deal with this kind of stuff, right? Like, how do I go use the DAO's funds to hedge and our portfolio, and what's that look like, and who's supposed to do that, and all those kinds of things, right?
Exactly. I think that's where the issue or potential challenges or potential routes to take. How can we, because to your point, if there's a treasury, but we can't just do whatever with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we structure that?
Yeah, exactly. There's one, like, if you Google, there's one called Digits, like DIGITS DAO. That's kind of a revenue as a service / farming as a service DAO. I don't know why it's even called a DAO, to be honest. To me, it's that one there is kind of like I think it's kind of more for marketing that they're using the word DAO on that one, because basically what that one is that there is a guy on Twitter who has a very good track record investing, and so he's using the DAO structure to raise money as a fund. So, and basically, you can, all the money that goes into the DAO, to that DAO, basically controlled by this one guy, you can see all the assets that are held in that wallet. So basically, you're hiring him as a trader / investor to try to earn you some rich returns. So this guy happens to be a good investor / trader. The neat thing with that protocol is, again, that not protocol, but that project, is that you can see all his investments on chain, right? So you can see how he flips between, like these he kind of chases hot projects, and he's really in the weeds when it comes to the DeFi space. So he generates some pretty good returns. And so he does, he does that. He does, a combination of on-chain investing, so like literally just buying tokens, right, off of Uniswap or something like that, right? So on a DEX, and then also doing some trading on centralized exchanges like DYDX or GMX, where let's say he'll take $1 million out of the DAO's treasury and just deposit it onto an exchange, and then you'll see the returns. He just updates the returns on that $1 million. So it's I think it's what's interesting about that model is that you can see, like, it's not, I don't think it's a DAO because it's a one-person thing, so I don't know why he's calling it a DAO. I think it's just a fundraising mechanism. But I think it's definitely one way of doing things, and it seems to be this whole idea of the trend is that DAOs or folks need to have some assistance managing the treasury, right? And I think most people are realizing, just like the regular world, right? Like, trading and investing is hard, and unless you have like a background in it, right? Like, you don't want to do it if you're just a hobbyist, right? Especially if you're trying to manage your DAO's treasury, you don't have a background doing that stuff, you're gonna get wrecked, and you're gonna lose you're gonna cost your treasury a lot of money. So anyways, I think it's a good I like that. I like the angle there.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
same here.
Let's just keep investigating it. Yeah. Okay.
What's the service you were Digits?
Yeah, Digits DAO. Just Google Digits DAO.
Yeah, Digits DAO .finance.
Yeah, I think that's the one. All right. Okay, so thanks, Jocelyn. Any other ideas, Jocelyn, or anything? Anyone else wants to?
Like,
yes.
another idea on the same topic, in the investment topic, like if we have a group of DeFi analysts or technical researchers
Mm-hmm.
we could analyze the fundamentals of the projects, and we would have our own ratios. And when we have our own ratios, we would have like all the list of projects. We could have a scorecard. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on the scorecard, we could have like, this is a 5-star project out of 5. This is a 4-star. And depending on that, we could invest, for example, or we could do a public scorecard, and like people would check our scorecard and they would invest depending on our public scorecard.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting. I had that in my notes too, like some sort of an internal analyst scoring. Yeah, that's really good, Fuad.
Yeah, but it would be like we would put publicly some of our ratios, but we would have like our trademark ratios that would be for our DAO to have an edge compared to other groups,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And I'm with the idea to have, if you want a separate fund, Houston, I'm not against it. Like it would be called an investment, a branch of our funds, and we will see how this investment fund will progress with time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I believe that I don't believe that the DeFi fundamentals, like analysts, we are like really mature. It's a new, it's not a too new idea, but we could be leaders in it.
Yeah, there's actually I don't know if you're aware, but there's one company that kind of does. Oh, it's a company or DAO that does that. I'm trying to remember the name of it right now, but they partner up with. So you guys know DeFi Safety already, right? So I've talked about that one. DeFi Safety does. What do they call it? They do reviews. It's not audits. They do reviews of projects, but it's from a technical perspective, right? So they're reviewing, risks to the project around, smart contract risks and implementation risks and all those kinds of things. But there's another project that they've partnered up with that do the fundamental analysis. And so between those two companies, they're trying to put out like a shared scorecard that one analyzes the protocol in terms of the risks, and then the other one examines the fundamentals. I'll have to find that name of the other company offline because I can't remember it right now. But I think it's something similar to what you're talking about. So maybe if I would, I'll let you look at that and you can tell me like, is this kind of, like, is it kind of what in what you're thinking, what you kind of in line what you're thinking about.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see what like to hear like what you think some of those right metrics are, because we'll take a look at that. Yeah, I'll share with you this thing because I think you're right. Like, right now, it's difficult to do fundamental analysis on these projects, and what are those KPIs, and what are those things that are important, right?
Yeah, but like in real life, for the traditional like industries, we have many research companies that do analysis, fundamental analysis. So that doesn't mean if there is already one research company that there is no place for other companies.
Absolutely.
So I understand that maybe like say DeFi Safety or there are other models, but we could still have our own.
Yeah, 100% agree. That's why like maybe if you take a look at this project, and I don't know if you have some idea KPIs already in mind, but I'm just trying to like take a look at what they have there and see is like like where is there a delta between like there's something that they're not offering that that like, we could differentiate ourselves.
Yeah, but like you Houston, you remember when you do your presentations, you have a top project with you use like a KPI of developers, how many dev. Group. It could be one of these, for example.
Yeah.
Like the devs, I noticed that you focus much on the devs, so it might be one of. It could be
especially if you're evaluating chains. Absolutely, you
for
want to see.
example,
Yeah. So do you want to? So that's I totally like that this angle. So if I would, you want to run with this one? You want to take this this kind of this idea and run with it?
Yeah, I don't know if Jocelyn, since also you have this idea, we could work on it together if you want.
Sure. It's not an area I have lots of knowledge in, but absolutely, I had a note written down. Because it would also match well with an investment club approach
Yeah,
too, right? It's,
I
it's a
agree.
complementary.
Yeah, they work hand in hand, I believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ultimately, if we do have, if we do an investment club that falls under the Montreal DAO banner, then it would be good, right? So that we have some sort of philosophy for that club. Like, what's the investing philosophy, right? And so maybe it's those tools or ideas that you're generating, Faoud, to say, how do we evaluate these projects, right? Like, do we only buy products that are, projects that are, a certain market cap, or is, that satisfies these certain KPIs or these certain metrics, like have some sort of philosophy versus just like, we just chase the fact, the hottest and latest thing, right? Like, what's the philosophy of that
100%.
investment DAO? Yeah.
100%. And I think also, I mean, when you have these boutique hedge funds and all that, they have a very strong philosophy, and they don't stray from that. And that's what attracts a certain crowd, right? So I think this could be interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
I have also another idea. I think I noted both of them on Notion.
Okay, let's take a look.
Like the second one would be our group, our DAO group, would be also a launching platform for potential projects. Like if you have teams, young developers who would like to launch their projects, like if we start in Montreal, for example, since we are in Montreal, you have some young developers who just left universities or who are there, and they want to launch their projects. So we could be a platform where we could, like, each session launch 2 projects, for example, and we could gather people, and these people would watch this project. It would be like a Kickstarter, if you want, or a Indiegogo or whatever, but focused on DeFi projects.
Right. So somewhat like an incubation.
Yeah, exactly. And if we see like there is one that's really interesting and that needs a push or a mentoring, we could also like mentor it, or we could help them or whatever.
Yeah.
So also it goes along with the investment idea, fundamental idea, and all of it. It's all the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. So ultimately, I think as we get into this fundamental analysis of things, ultimately, it's going to take us down a path where we have to, better understand tokenomics and better understand, these, the way these protocols play amongst each other. And I think ultimately that will give us, like you said, the ability to advise early stage companies, right? Like, hey, we've seen these before, and these are what's working right now, right? And some of these other companies we would advise them to do things in a certain way, right? So I think that it's definitely hand in hand there. So yeah, I like that.
We could be like angel investors, if you want, or we could like invest our private money from the DAO, or funds from the DAO, if you want, in these potential projects, and we could mentor them. We could tell them, look, you're doing that right. Maybe we could do this better or whatever.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's kind of having the venture cap approach,
exactly. Yeah,
in the DAO structure, which then it can be linked with the project analysis, as you mentioned, Fuad, and the investment club. It all gels together when you think about
it. Exactly. Yeah. It's all under the same umbrella for me, and that's how I see it.
And coming with a philosophy, like, is it that philosophy we were talking about, Houston? It could be as much for what projects we're now analyzing, projects we are trading investment club, and also the projects that we take on as incubators or incubating ideas and potentially funding portions of it.
Yes, and when we establish ourselves as experts or leaders in the market, we would be publishing expert contents. Like all these big groups, they publish articles. Yeah, specific, like what's the trend, what's happening, what's all these things. But for sure, we would need like an army of publishers or technical researchers or whatever. But yeah. And we would do presentations. We would do like forums to attract people. Like we are here. We are the experts.
Yeah.
Come knock on our door if you want the latest trend. And
yeah, I like that vision a lot. I think it all fits together, right? Ultimately, if you have a methodology or investment methodology or philosophy that would tie in, that ties into your, your fundamental analysis, right? And ultimately, if you have all that with the experience, it turns naturally into like a VC type of service where you're offering it, either funding to early stage companies or just advice, right? Like advice to early stage companies. So how do we move on that? Like, I think this is a great idea. Like, what do we need to do? What small next step can we take to move on that? Clearly, there's a lot of
Let's start with the idea of the investment, if you want, investment club. And when we establish the investment club, then we have our branches, the branches we mentioned.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. So do you want to lead? You want to lead a charge on a certain thing? So I don't know if you're looking to the fundamental analysis stuff. How else you want to tie in what we just talked about?
What do you think, Jocelyn? Do you want to do a brainstorm? We can do a brainstorm session, both of us, and see how.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we do need to start by brainstorming. What could this look like? How do we approach this? Like, if it's an investment club, are we at large? Are we do we build a philosophy on what we approach? What's our style? What will be the style? How do we manage this as a DAO, right? I think we need to throw down a lot of these ideas down instead of just saying, like, we're putting up an investment club.
Yeah. So I think we would do a meeting, Justin and I, and whoever is interested too. We would list like action points, and we would do a priority in these action points. We would say, like, this is our top priority, and we focus on it. Then we do the second one, third one.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, invite me too, guys. I'd love to join. Just to
Basically, what we could do is defining what's the MVP of this investment. We're growing from there, right?
Yeah, exactly. The MVP, exactly.
Yeah.
Minimum viable product, right?
Or what the new term now, instead of minimum viable, it's MLP, minimum lovable product.
You work in Agile, Jocelyn?
Yeah, every day.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so I think that's a couple of good ideas there. So, what I'll just make note of here. So, we're talking about an investment DAO. We're talking also about doing fundamental analysis and having a philosophy around that. Fundamental analysis, talking about investment philosophy. And so, Jocelyn, you and I, whoever wants to join myself and Jocelyn about talking about the investment DAO, feel free to, to join us in that on that thread. And then Faoud and Jocelyn, if you guys want to set up a call, I'm happy to join that call as well.
Okay, we'll invite you. Yeah, we will invite you, and you can send it to whoever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for a closed. Yeah,
exactly. We'll just publish it in the open, like on Discord, or we'll put it on GM, and then so that way, so whoever wants to can join. Good stuff. That's three good solid things to work on. Anything else?
I think in traditional terms, it's called an investment policy statement.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, investment policy statement. I remember clients would just roll their eyes when they would say, well, now we have to go over your investment policy statement. And say, I just want to make money.
Just give me some returns.
You're the expert. Just make me money, and if it goes down, I'll blame you. And if it goes up, I'll take the credit. So, investment policy statement, I think, in the environment of a DAO is even more important, and the more specific it can be, without hemming us in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's okay. So the parameters usually are like more than 5% and less than 15%, or things like that. We can't say, okay, we will only invest 10% here, and we will only invest. No, if we stick to the absolutes, we can get ourselves hemmed in too much. But investment policy statement, I have quite a bit of experience in writing those stupid things up, but they're very important. They're very important.
Absolutely.
When the crunch comes to crunch, and it's like you said, he said, and whatever.
Yeah.
You go back 100%. To the statement and say, you signed off on this, and this is the way it is. So
Yeah.
It cuts off a lot of not necessarily negotiation, but the chicanerie, if I can say that,
Mhm.
chicanerie,
Yeah.
and a lot of the niaiserie. I mean, some of these words in French, they just work so well. Like, or anybody who wants to be mischievous, you know, it's just like, okay, no, it's here in the statement. So
Yeah.
that's what I.
I wrote a few just recently, and you're absolutely right, Adina. It just makes everything clear. It avoids any ambiguities moving forward. You know.
Yeah. And then, you know, all this, you know, because, you know, I definitely see the value of having that kind of statement. You know, maybe the focus is, you know, this investment DAO only invests in ESG projects, right? Whatever it is. But I think it's also it'd be interesting because the world's a bit different in the DAO space, where it does require consensus with the DAO members to actually sign off on these investments, right? So it's not like you're just handing off your money to an investment manager. This person has full responsibility to do whatever, right? Here, you know, depending how you structure it, right, you may have to have a consensus vote to decide on what to invest in, right? So that's something to think about here, where it's the different kind of structure, because that can actually hem you in as well, right? Like you can imagine if you have like a 5 multi-sig and you need 5 investment managers to sign off on a transaction. You know, that sounds great on paper potentially, but you can see how could also be problematic in a fast-moving market when you have to act quickly, right? And you could get in real trouble. It's like, oh, this thing's crashing or whatever, and you have to get out of this thing, and now I'm waiting for 4 other signatures. You know, so I think something to think about there as we begin to investigate this further. Like, what's the right approach for some of these things?
Well, so it's not necessarily, you know, it's not a discretionary account. I think that's the distinction you're making, and there's a fine line between what you said previously with regards to consensus, the difference between consensus and consent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd be interested in exploring that a little bit further in order to be able to define it, because in my mind it's fairly ephemeral. I mean, the words sound good, yes, consent, but consensus.
Yeah.
What
I think
is
for
that?
me, there's a kind of a hard line where if you're using, like, if you're tapping into the DAO's treasury, or when you're actually doing on-chain transactions, that's when I think you require consensus, right? But when you're doing soft things in the world, right, that's consent, right? Like, I don't need to ask you guys permission to go talk to another DAO on behalf of the Montreal DAO, right? Like, I don't think we need permission for everything like that. What if I'm trying to move money out of the treasury, right, and I'm doing an on-chain transaction? I think that's kind of a consensus item where people need to vote for that, the allocation of you know, those of our tokens, or however, you know, we're choosing to spend that. So but most things are consent, right? Like, you know, we're not always transacting on the chain, right? Most stuff that we're doing is in real life and talking to people and, you know, trying to move the DAO forward. Yeah, I think, you know, we don't require votes for that, right? So unless it's really friction, you know, unless it's a lot of friction around it and it's kind of antithetical to our missions and values, so I think that's when you need to have consensus. But otherwise, but you know, the investment thing is clearly different, right? Like, this is a different beast, right? And because you're going to be actually moving monies out of that treasury, and so I think it's, you know, that's going to be an interesting thing to explore and see, like, okay, what is the right mechanism to do that, right? Maybe it is like, this is why the Digits DAO, the reason why it's, you know, it's efficient is because only one person controls it, right? But that's also kind of a risk too, because only one person controls it. So it's not, I don't know why it's really called the DAO. The only reason I think it could be called DAO so that, you know, again, maybe people share in the profits, but they're not getting a chance to choose what they're investing in, right? They're just relying on that one individual, that investment manager, to make all the decisions. So anyways, that's maybe a topic that we can think about more. But let's investigate. I think we'll just find out, Jocelyn, as we begin to drill down to it. Some of these tools, like Syndicate.DAO, some of these tools actually have thought through some of these ideas, and then what you and I can do is, as we explore these things, we can come back to the group and report what we've been finding out, right? So that everyone can kind of stay in the loop, you know, and learn from what we've been figuring out, you know, as we go along. So I hope we can all do the same, right? As you and Fauda are working through some things, you can come back to and say, hey, this is what we've been researching, right? And here's some other roadblocks, or here's what's great, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? We all get better that way.
It's a syndicate.io, right?
Yeah, something like that. Just
yeah,
Google Syndicate DAO. Yeah. All right, good stuff.
I was wondering, did we decide in the group which platform how are we going to communicate between each others? Like, do we have a WhatsApp, a Telegram, or I don't know, anything
We're
else
on
to
Discord, man.
message.
Are you on Discord?
Yeah, but Discord, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because we're all on Discord right now. And we also have GM that XYZ, which is what I've been trying to figure out, like what's the best communication. What's the best platform to communicate this stuff.
Okay. Discord is good for one-to-one communications.
I have it open here. You have the app. Let me just see if I can. Yeah, I can. I just clicked on Houston's name here, and I can send you a message. And it's just to you, and then it's a conversation. It's like Slack or Teams. Pretty much the same thing.
Perfect.
Yeah. So jump into that. You should be able to. You should. You'll find the link to it in our on our homepage. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
The DeFi homepage. DeFi Montreal
And
homepage.
it's browser based. You can have it browser based, but I find it's a lot better when you download the app, PC, Mac, whatnot, and on mobile devices.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's continue on. So the next thing to talk about is the next event. So gonna have to get that on the calendar at some point. My thoughts, I think it was probably going to be that's going to be for the third week of April. I think we'll be doing it on Thursdays. So I think I'll keep to that cadence, doing it on Thursday evenings, right, from 6 to 8. I think that's what we've been doing, 6 to 8. It seems to be okay. And I guess the only open question is there any particular topics you guys want to talk about? Or the thought I was thinking was that we can involve the guys from DeFi Safety to give a presentation.
I like that.
To help folks understand how to evaluate projects and protocols for safety.
I really like the idea of featuring a project or protocol in this session, especially some that are not maybe the most popular, but it's interesting to see what's out there and deep diving into them. Especially
if you haven't done a lot of DeFi stuff before. I think the message you're going to hear from DeFi Safety is going to be useful, right? So you don't get hurt. There's a lot of scams, a lot of rug pulls, so these are all things that, who here has been rug pulled or been scammed in DeFi? Who here is actually not yet? So you guys are you've been scammed already on DeFi?
In crypto.
Okay.
Is it the same for you, crypto or DeFi? No, right?
No, not quite. What? So you did you buy it? Well, I guess you could kind of say, I guess a little bit different, but essentially the same.
Lots of projects stopped after a year or 2 years. And so I would consider that I got scammed. Yeah.
Houston, what's an example of a DeFi scam that you're aware of?
Well, for instance, like if let's say you're staking, let's say you're doing some yield farming, and then all of a sudden all the monies get pulled out of that yield farm. Right. So basically you get dumped on by a whale, and they pull the project, or all the developers just get up and run and just take the money out of the contract.
Yeah.
So
or they just decide to stop for no reason,
Yeah, it just dies.
And they disappear.
Yeah. Usually the rug pulls that happen in DeFi happen fast, right? You wake up in the morning, your money's not there. you're earning some amazing yield, and then the next day you check in, like, hey, what happened to all the yield? And where's all my money? So if you haven't been scammed yet, don't worry, you'll be scammed eventually. It's the nature of the environment. You cannot avoid all scams. So the key is just to invest wisely. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, especially baskets that are risky, because you can measure kind of a project's risk based upon how much APY you're getting. If you're getting a huge APY, it's probably a good chance you're going to get scammed, right? Like some project that's promising you a few thousand APY, then that's kind of kind of need to play hot potato with that one and probably not put your retirement in there, right? Or retirement accounts in there, So.
Yeah, so many people. Some people are mortgaging their houses, and dumping the money into these.
Some people are exactly. Unfortunately, they're getting burnt But yeah, it's we learned. It's like human greed is a is a heck of a thing,
For sure.
But I think the DeFi safety guys will have some good examples of how to avoid some of these little traps. So so you don't have to make the same mistakes necessarily as most of us have. All right. Because even the best, it happens to the best. Like, look at Mark Cuban. I'm not saying he's the best, but remember Mark Cuban last year? He got a rug pulled. He was in this thing called Iron Finance. He had invested, not a lot of money for him. He had put in like about 10 million or something like that, and we see how great it was. And then the next day, 0. and he got really angry, right? He's like, DeFi's the next best thing. He's on Twitter like bragging about saying that he knew DeFi and he was in Iron Finance. Next day was rug pulled. And then he's like, this industry needs to be regulated. It's like how quickly he goes from like decentralized, and all of a sudden you lose money. It's like, you need to regulate this thing.
There's one scam I see quite a bit, and we were approached for it too. Is if you're selling a business or a larger ticket item, and then you're offered to purchasers coming around and offering to buy your business, but with crypto, maybe Bitcoin or ETH. And I knew better, right? So I didn't do it. But the thing is you have to create a wallet on this on this platform and create the wallet. In order to activate the wallet, you need to transfer some ETH or BTC, right? Next thing you know, boom, it's gone. And they'll offer to buy your company. Like we're selling a company, and we've been offered paying a premium if you accept crypto. So I knew this was what was coming, right? So I went as far as I could to see how far they're taking this, right? And the thing looks like, there's a lot of effort put into building this website, building these wallets, whatnot, but boom, gone, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a knockoff of another scam, right? Like a classic scam where they get you to send the money, and then interesting, huh? Yeah. All right, so that's the plan next event. So I'm gonna move ahead of that, and so it sounds like unless anyone disagrees, I think the DeFi safety team would be great to get involved. So I'll reach to that and try to arrange the next meetup. The onboarding guide, I kind of talked about it already, but I'll just quickly go over the points of it. So based on what Adam and I had kind of brainstormed, this onboarding guide, which I'm kind of putting together now, is going to answer three questions and then have an FAQ section. So what's the Montreal DAO? So that as people first join in, they know what the heck we are. And number 2, how do I get set up? So I want to take some of the things that Dina had also give feedback to make sure that gets people know like how do you buy your crypto if you're a first timer, right? Like how do you set up MetaMask? How do you transfer it over to your MetaMask? And then finally, how do you log into GM XYZ? And then finally the FAQ for any other questions. So my name's on that one, so I'll keep working on that. Any questions around that, guys? The onboarding guide?
We can all participate, and I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Ultimately, that's going to live like when I finish it, I'm going to post links to it in our Discord, right? So in our resources section or in the welcome page, I'll have links to it, as well as I'll post it on GM.xyz.
Okay. Question, Houston, if you post something on Notion, then you can just post the link, as you just said, on Discord, because I think so, we've got so many folders there. You go down the list and your eyes kind of blur over. So if we draw attention to what it is that has been updated, that would help us focus.
Yeah, I know it's kind of getting hard to track which ones where there's actually activity, right? So I think it's either I got to clean up some of those ideas and put them into another board, or the things that are actually like ongoing, we move it to the tasks. Right, if you go to Notion, we go to under tasks, you move it in there so people know there's actually ongoing things in there versus stuff that just kind of like brainstorm ideas, right, which is not being worked on.
Good.
So let's move that. I'll move everything we're working on inside the tasks board, right? So so we know like, this is actually what's active. So a lot of stuff right now is in tasks which don't belong in tasks, like evaluating these different. So I'm doing it right now, actually, evaluating some of these tools. I'm putting on hold for now because that's not urgent. But like the onboarding thing, I'll drop it into the tasks on the to-do. Or doing right now, actually. So whoever was working on stuff, please drop it into tasks so we know that you're actually working on it. All right, and so that people can reach out and help you if they want to, or just inquire what you're doing. I think Adam was evaluating that DBank platform that shared out yesterday, which is kind of that Trello.
Yeah, that's interesting.
than Notion. But maybe we'll lead on. I'll follow up with Adam next week and see what he's thought about it. Because Adam actually used to work for Trello, from what I remember, and he's a real whiz around design. He's actually teaches photography at Concordia as a course, and then he also does a bunch of works for Web3 companies. So for design work, he's like he's a UX guy, so he's got a really good eye for UX, and knows Trello pretty much backwards and forwards probably. Okay, so I'll follow up with him on that one. And then the last thing before we, because we're getting close to the 5 o'clock, is our group name. So by the end of the week or the end of the month, we're gonna lock in our group name, right? So just a reminder. I think Adam had posted inside GMXYZ what some of the group names were we talked about, right? And Adina had also had a bunch of suggestions. Right now, we're generic. We're calling this as Montreal DAO, but this is the last chance to put your ideas in, and then next week we'll lock it in. Cool.
Sounds good.
All right. And the last mission statement, I think that I need to work on that, or go to once help me. We need to lock that in to make sure that that's kind of I've been kind of lazy on that front. I think it's really important to get done to make sure that everyone's clear about what we're trying to do, and the kind of areas that we're focusing on. What are some of our goals? That'd be good to do as well. Maybe next. I think maybe next week we should spend more time working through that as a group, just flesh it out. I think we kind of have an idea, right? Because we're talking quite regularly now in terms of what we like, but it would be nice to just lock it in, right? And say, hey, this is what we really stand for. These are our intermediate, long-term, intermediate, and short-term goals, right? And so that we can all kind of go on our way, work independently, but all have that same stuff and kind of aligning our actions. So maybe I'll push this out to next week. Revisit that. And the last thing, the Dow Tooling thing, that was the reason I had this here, just because it was on the Notion site. I wasn't sure who had dropped that in there as a discussion item. So I just want to make sure that I had it on our call, but I wasn't sure what we wanted to talk about there. Does anyone want to bring up anything around Dow Tooling? Otherwise, I think DBank was the new Dow tool that I was going to talk about, but I'm going to lean on Adam because he says he's spinning up an instance to kick the tires. So I'll lean on him to give us an update on what that tool is. Although it looks like it has potential.
Yeah, it does. I just took a quick look, and it seems interesting.
Yeah, I think ultimately, so I'll leave some parting thoughts here as it's already 5 o'clock. I know some of you have got to run and start the weekend. So here's some parting thoughts, right? So I think ultimately the success of this DAO, this community, it boils down to creating value so that we continue to expand the reach and the members in this community, right? So we just need more members. When we have this nice flywheel of bringing new people in, educating them, helping them learn about DeFi, investing, whatever our focus is. This is just going to allow us to do whatever it is we want to do, with greater scale, right? Because ultimately, I think that in a short term, we need to start thinking about how do we actually begin to raise money for the DAO, right? So, talking about DAO governance and the actual issuing of creating the actual DAO. We need to actually create the DAO. Obviously, once you need to get the name locked in, but then we need to create the DAO and then market it and begin to raise funds for the DAO, right? So whether it's selling NFTs or tokens, we need to have a big audience to sell it, to raise capital, right? If it's just the 5 of us on a call or 6 of us, it's not going to raise that much capital. So ultimately, we need to have a large community, and we need to the goal is to be supportive of this community so that we continue to deliver value to them. So if they are investing, they're getting value out of that investment. Whatever from there, whether that's through social, it's from social connections or education, or whatever reasons people want to choose to join our DAO. All right.
Cool.
So whatever you guys can think of, how do we amplify our reach? What can we do to help people along further so we can attract more people, right, in Montreal? So again, is it through educational content? Is it through creating more partnerships so that other groups are aware of what we're doing here? How do we amplify this message so that when it does come time to spring up the DAO, right, and we do start selling tokens or NFTs, that we do have, you know, a large user or audience that we can tap into. Because right now, I think we have what our numbers, and I think, you know, we'll have to think about it. But our numbers right now are like what, 135, something like that. On Meetup.com is the audience there, right? Again, like I said in the past, I don't think it's our only audience. Maybe, you know, we need to include people that are also a part of the Discord, or, you know, whatever, right? It's like we want to capture all of our audience, right? All of our community. It's not just on Meetup.com. So how do we make sure that everyone's hearing, you know, everyone that's, you know, in our ecosystem is getting hearing our message, and we're getting more people into our ecosystem.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's wrap it up. Anyone have any questions, comments, feedback?
Just to sum up, I will contact Jocelyn and you too, Houston, via Discord to set up a brainstorm meeting about the investment DAO. Okay.
Yep. Awesome. And Jocelyn and I, you know, we'll just communicate in Discord, Jocelyn, and then we'll figure out how we want to start talking about that investment down. I'll send you a link if I would around the fundamental analysis project. All right. Excellent. Well, have a fantastic weekend, folks, and look forward to seeing, you know, your feedback or ideas and just you know, the stuff you're working on in the next week.
All right. All right. Have a great weekend, people.
You too, folks. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you
Bye,
wait
everyone.
back a minute?
See you, Naga.
Yeah. Do you have some few minutes?
Who, me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Let's hang up because this is being recorded here. Unless you want to record our conversation.
No.
Okay. So we'll talk in Discord.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.